Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 75 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle and Mike. Sean is still out on assignment. Thank you for joining us today. Mike, how you doing?
Well, my voice has been better, so I apologize in advance to our listeners. Lost my voice over the weekend. It still hasn't recovered, so if I sound off, I apologize. How you doing, Turtle?
Thank you for powering through, brother.
It's the power of the slime.
It has that effect on people. I'm doing well, doing well. Ready to talk about one of my more favorite shows of recent era. So today is going to be our second episode of The Rule of Three. In the Rule of Three episodes, one of us will pick an anime for the others to watch, and they'll watch the first three episodes and decide if it's something they would continue to watch. And this week, I picked That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime for Mike. This particular show, I'm a very, very big fan of. A mutual friend of ours turned me onto it. He was reading the light novels and he was a big fan. And then the anime came out and he was like, dude, you got to watch this. I think you'd really like it. And he was right. I quickly became addicted. I watched season one. I eagerly awaited for season two. I watched it as it aired. And I'm currently watching season three as it airs in English. I do watch the English dub. Sorry, purists. I'm sure the Japanese dub is wonderful, but the English cast is really good for the show, I feel. So I've been watching the English dub, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. I mean, some people are tired of the isekais. I happen to really like this genre, even a lot of the crappier shows, except for Vending Machine. That's kind of not good. But a lot of these other shows are just kind of like, meh. I'll watch it anyway. You know, the power fantasy. I don't hate. So even though it's kind of repetitive and can be boring for some, I enjoy the genre for the most part. But I think this show really stands above most of the other shows. It's really, really well written, I think. Really interesting characters. And I just like following along with Rimaru's story, and I can't wait to see where it goes next.
And you've watched it a couple times now, right?
I have. There have been a few times where I had nothing going on a weekend and I was bored, and I said, you know what? Let's watch Slime again. So I just binge watched both seasons. Um, so yeah, there's like a 12 episode spin-off show, which I don't know, takes place I think between the two seasons or somewhere in season one. Someone correct me in the comments. I know some of you super fans are gonna know better than I do. It's a very like slice of life chill where it's just like the characters hanging out. That's pretty fun. There's a movie which is supposedly canon by the original creator, and the movie's really good. I enjoyed that. I'm not sure when that takes place in the timeline, if it's happened yet or not. At least as episode or season three, rather. The movie's really good. I recommend. So just pretty much everything that this show has put out, I've really enjoyed.
This is a show that I've been wanting to watch for years and just never got around to. Mainly because you and our mutual friend have talked it up so much. I'm like, it sounds interesting. Maybe I'll give it a shot. And just, it was always on my watch list, but never got around to it. So this was the perfect way for me to actually start watching this show.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could kickstart it for you.
I'm glad to.
Just a fair warning, you might get addicted.
I was going to say it was a little difficult not to keep watching after the first three.
That's a good sign. Well, you ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about episode one. Mike, tell us some of your thoughts for episode one here.
Well, to start the episode, that's sure as hell not the way I expected the episode to start, with the village getting bombed.
Yes. I guess it's not much of a spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it. That is going to come into play a little bit later. We just haven't got there yet. They don't touch on that in the first three episodes. A few more episodes in, we're going to get some more information about that. That's going to come back around. So you don't have to wait super long, but it is past the first three episodes.
I was like, oh, okay, we're like dropping nukes. Cool. Not what I thought for this show.
Yeah, they picked an interesting place to start the show with that, but again, it does come back around, so we'll get there.
We meet what I guess is are going to be our main character. I wonder if he has a vending machine fetish like our other isekai main character.
Not to jump too far ahead, but we don't know what's on his hard drive, so that's possible.
That's true. But he calls himself an average 37-year-old man, so I'm gonna guess he doesn't. Speaking from experience as a 37-year-old man.
I am also a 37-year-old man. So this I mean, watching this again, this kinda hit a little hard for me because this guy is very much like me.
A dapper young gentleman
That's right. Looking for love.
in all the wrong places.
God, I haven't really been looking, so I guess I haven't touched the wrong places, but I'm not hitting the right ones either.
I really am digging the animation and the looks of the characters, the human characters, and Tokyo. Very interesting style choice. Like it almost has like a realistic feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah, something about the art style for the show I kinda like. Sometimes some character movements and designs seem a little choppy. Um, I don't know if that's like a design choice, but it doesn't really bother me in any way. I kinda like how striking some of the, character models and designs are.
And then we meet one of the weirdest people I've ever seen in an anime. The dudes are running through the streets just holding a knife out. It's like, uh, who the hell runs through the streets holding a knife like that? You would think, oh, gonna stab someone. You would go up behind them and like stab him. He's just like running like a wild man in the streets. Like I'm gonna stab someone. I don't know who, but I'm gonna stab someone. I'm gonna stab, stab, stab.
I also thought that was kinda comical. I mean, like were saying, like the dude's in like a black hoodie, and you would think he would be like hiding the knife and then just like stab somebody in secret, not run down the street. So I don't know if that's a thing in Japan, Japanese listeners, if there are any, like please shed some light on this for us. Is this like a common thing? Does this happen? Because I can't say that it happens in the US that I'm aware of. So I just don't know.
And then the size of the knife, like what? That thing was huge.
He's not joking around. He really wants to kill somebody.
He has his heart set on stabbing someone with his giant knife.
He kinda reminds me of, Roberto from Futurama.
Uh,
It's
I could
gonna
see that.
stab you. Ha ha.
So after our main character Satoru gets stabbed, I was really loving the looks and the audio of him gaining skills as he was dying. Because it's like, oh, I'm so cold, cold resistance. Oh, I wish I'm in so much pain, pain resistance. Oh, I'm in this. Oh, we're gonna like every time he said something or thought something, he got a skill for it.
I thought that was weird at first until you keep watching the show, and I'm like, "Okay, I see what you did here. It's an interesting way to, like, introduce, the skill system."
I did find it weird. It's like, okay, well, how's he getting these skills? Like, he's just a normal person. Like, does every person get this when they die? Or why does he get these skills?
Main character. He has main character immunity.
It's like, is it because he sacrificed himself to save his bestie?
Maybe. I mean, maybe that was, like he was destined to be reincarnated, or maybe because he saved his I don't know if you can call them a bestie, I think they're just coworkers, but maybe they
I'm
are,
gonna
like,
call him
really, really good
I'm gonna
friends.
call him bestie.
I like that, let's do it. We'll stick with bestie. But maybe because he sacrificed himself for bestie, he gets the option or the privilege of being reincarnated and gifted all these crazy skills. They don't really ever explain that as of yet anyway, in the show. I don't know about the novels.
I love how he tells work bestie, delete my internet history and porn stash.
Dump the hard drive in the bath. Don't look.
Don't
Yikes.
don't look at what's on it, just delete it. Don't judge me, I'm dying.
Don't judge me, I'm dying. I like that.
The visuals of Satoru getting teleported to this new world and transforming into a slime are top notch.
Yeah. I like the, transition from our world into fantasy world. I thought it was really cool.
And like obviously it's two different IPs, but for whatever reason, my mind was just like hell bent on thinking he would look like a slime from Dragon Quest.
Yeah, with the face.
Yeah.
I mean, he
I,
does have a face, but not
yeah,
that face.
not that fake. Yeah, it's like I know it's two different IPs, but it's like when you hear slime, you at least I think of a couple. I think of either the slimes from Dragon Quest or Slimer from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not to like spoil anything because I don't really think this is a spoiler. But we may get some Easter eggs throughout this show from our world. So just keep that in mind.
Eh. I did think the comedy about eating the plants and addressing the fourth wall was great.
I think the comedy for the show is really good. It's very funny when it wants to be, and it gets very serious when it wants to as well. And I just think the writing has been really good.
I was gonna say I definitely was laughing at multiple points watching these 3 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great show all around. They got good comedy, lots of references to things, for us fellow nerds. And yeah, it's just a fun watch all the way around.
Speaking of things I was not expecting, after the bombing of the village to start the episode, I was not expecting the voice change of the human main character to the slime main character.
Yes. Uh it's an interesting choice. I'm pretty sure we don't hear that human voice again. It's just gone now.
Like it felt very odd. It's like you would think, okay, like the human is transformed into a slime. We're still going to keep that voice actor.
Right? So they
It's just
literally
like
hired somebody for like the half of an episode and then okay, you're done.
thanks for
Good
all your input. Bye.
yeah, goodbye. Thanks. I mean, I guess the concept is like that was old world. Welcome to new world. Everything is different.
That's fair. I wonder if it's the same thing in the Japanese version where it's if they have two different voice actors.
That's actually a very good question. I've not watched it in Japanese. Please, listeners, let me know in the comments. Does the same thing happen in the Japanese dub? Because I would love to know that. Do they change voice actors like they do in the English dub, or do they keep the same actor?
I was really digging how this system, not to take it from solo leveling, but I'm just gonna call it the system for now until we get an official name for it, is explaining all the skills that the slime is acquiring or has acquired at this point.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you can call it a system like in solo leveling. It just seems like these are grand rules of this world on how it exists and how it's put together, where humans and monsters can gain skills, and there's a variety of different skills as well as different levels of skills on like how powerful they are, and it's interesting to like get a breakdown on some of these skills. And Rimuru is going to acquire many, many throughout his journey, as we'll discover here shortly. But the major skill that he has is called Great Sage. And that's the explanation he gets where he can communicate with his skill, Great Sage, and it will inform him of all kinds of different information, answer his questions he has about the world and his other abilities, and other abilities, and things that he will encounter. He can refer to Great Sage for explanation, which is really on its own an incredible skill. What's this? What? How does that function? What can I do with this? Like Great Sage has the answers for just about anything.
I was loving seeing Slime and Veldora becoming besties. And I'll tell you what, Veldora would never forget to wipe a hard drive,
Never. I mean, he would burn it. He would melt it, so there'd be nothing left because he's a dragon.
but he would never forget to burn it.
Never. No, Veldor is awesome.
I just loved the dynamic between these two. It's like you had this massive dragon who's like an all powerful being, and this tiny slime becoming besties. It's just
Yes.
like the perfect setup for like an odd couple comedy duo.
It's a very, very silly thing, and, it's an incredibly important thing. Uh, this is not the end of Eldora. There's a really good chance we will re-encounter him down the road.
And then I love how the episode ends with human Bessie throwing the monitor in the tub to wipe the hard drive. It's like, um, the hard drive's not in the monitor, dude. Like that's not doing shit except ruining a good monitor.
Well, I mean, maybe it came as a set. He didn't wanna split it up. He didn't need a monitor. You know, it's all about his bestie.
That monitor really tied the room together.
It did. So I
And
don't know.
then he threw in the desktop tower into the tub as well. It's like, um, that's not gonna work either. It's just gonna screw up the tower. It's not gonna like kill the hard drive, especially when the tower wasn't even fully submerged.
Anime logic. You
I
saw the
did.
electrical sparks, didn't you?
That's true. I did love how they put a never attempt this disclaimer up. I thought that was just icing on the comedy cake.
Like, this is all for good laughs, but seriously, don't do this.
It's like do not throw your laptop in the bathtub to wipe your hard drive. It will go poorly.
It won't work and bad things can happen to you. Don't do this.
Toro, you want to tell us about the closing credit song, which ends up being the opening credit song?
Yes, this show does the I don't know, I guess you would call it kind of a staple or trope at this point. The ending to episode 1 is actually the season 1 opening. Ha, fooled you. The song is called Nameless Story by Takuma Terashima. This is a very, very fun, upbeat rock song. It's very catchy, and I really love this song. The visuals introduce all these major characters that we're going to meet up throughout the season 1 journey. And I really don't know what else to say. Like, for me, this song has become like just a classic anime intro. And like I mentioned before, I've gone back and I've watched the show several times at this point, and this song just doesn't get old. I give The Nameless Story a 5 out of 5 star. It's just great and it's fun.
And what more can you ask for an anime song for it to be fun?
Exactly. And I don't know, I feel like some I don't wanna say, like, the band missed the marks because maybe, like, the song was written and then was used for the anime, but sometimes, like, the creators of shows, I feel like, don't always pick the right songs to support the show that they're working on. So, I don't know, this was a great pick. So now, on to episode 2. Mike, what'd you think about episode 2?
Though Dora given the puppy dog dragon eyes to Slime were just adorable. And Slime's like, no, don't do it. It doesn't work if you're a dragon. It only works if you're a puppy.
Yeah, well,
And though Dora's like, no, I'm a cute dragon.
and he is adorable, isn't he? I'm trying to look this up real quick. Um, Veldora's English voice actor is Chris, Rager, Rager, and, he does an incredible job. He is also, Hercule, AKA Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball, and when I first heard him, I was over the moon. I was like, "This is a great casting choice. He's incredible. He has such a great voice, and he can jump from, like, the silly over the top, 'Behold,' and then bring it back down to do, like, the pouty dragon eyes." So, I mean, he's fantastic.
And then I was absolutely losing it. And though Dora rubbing his hands together as Rimuru was talking to himself, he's like, tell me more. Maybe inform me of this plan. And he's just like rubbing his hands together in like excitement.
Well, I mean, you can't blame the guy for being excited. This is the first person he's talked to in 300 years.
He's just happy to have a bestie.
Absolutely. Wouldn't you?
Damn straight.
Can you imagine, like, being alone for 300 years?
Oh, that would be miserable.
Like, I'm not much of a people person, but, like, you gotta have some sort of interaction. Just, like, being alone for 300 years would be a bit much for me even.
And then the idea of Rimuru eating Veldora might be one of the most off the wall ideas I've ever heard.
It's creative.
It is. I'm like, they're talking. He's like, and Veldora's like, yes, that is a great idea. I'm like, wait, what? You're agreeing to get eaten? What? And then the naming scene between Veldora and Rimuru was fantastic. It's
Very,
like,
very
I'll
cool.
call you Tempest. And like, you think Veldora hates it the way he's acting. You're like, oh no. Oh no. And then he's like, oh, I freaking love it.
It's the best thing ever.
And then I can't believe Rimuru was actually able to eat the unlimited prison. Now I have to wonder if we'll ever see Veldora again or this plan went horribly wrong.
Oh, man. Only time will tell, because I won't tell you.
No.
I mean, I don't wanna spoil it.
I really dug how they had a different animation style for the humans in this world compared to the humans in the real world.
Yeah, there is a subtle shift.
Yeah, like the Tokyo humans had that more realistic feel to them, where these humans have more of a cartoonish feel to them.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's enough to differentiate.
I thought that was a really nice touch. And then Waterblade, holy crap, super powerful. That black serpent didn't stand a chance.
Water is surprisingly dangerous and destructive. I mean, we're very lucky, like, here where we can go to the sink, get some water, no big deal. But, like, they use water to, like, cut through fricking metal, because when you pressurize it enough, it can cut through just about anything. So, water can be very destructive, so it's very cool to see something. Usually, you come across a puddle of water, you don't think any big deal out of it, but this is able to take it and, pressurize it, turn it into a blade, and separate the head of a serpent. So, yeah, dangerous stuff.
And I just love how Rimmer's like Waterblade, 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 Waterblade. Just uses it on everything, on everything, everywhere.
I mean, I would too. Did you see what it did to that snake?
Yeah. It's like, what's the best way to defeat enemies so you could eat them and learn their skills? Use Waterblade.
It'll do it.
But Rimmeru's gonna be so OP with all of the skills he's acquiring, isn't he?
Yes. I don't think that's much of a spoiler, because a lot of shows have their main character in isekais like OP, and Rimuru kind of starts off OP. But, he keeps going up from there.
They're like, okay, main character buff. Give him all the powers. Not even halfway through episode 2. Go.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I'm totally left thinking that Rimuru is totally going to eat a person to steal all of their skills.
Whoa, that's a bold prediction.
It's like, oh, you're a powerful human. Not anymore. Nom 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 nom.
That's a bold prediction.
He won't even have to run through the street with a knife. He could just sneak up behind him because he's so small.
That's right. You just roll right up.
I mean, he ate infinite prison with
Yeah.
ease, and that was massive. It was crazy that the goblins look afraid of Rimuru. Granted, these might be some of the weakest looking goblins I've ever seen, but they're like, oh, we are so terrified of this tiny slime.
Yeah, I do have to agree. A lot of times when these fantasy type shows have goblins, they're usually pretty intimidating, even if they're smaller in size. These goblins look very silly and very pathetic, and it's kinda funny.
These are definitely the weakest I've seen in all of media, I feel. And then when Rimuru talks to them and he says his first words and it's like a yell, found it hilarious. Like I had to pause because I was laughing so hard at that scene.
It's
He's
good
like,
because 'cause I'm like, he hasn't really talked to anybody yet, so, like, when he starts, he's at, like, volume 10 out of 10.
he's more at 11 out of 10.
But these go to 11,
Instead, just be like, hello, I'm Rimuru. He's like, hello, I'm Rimuru.
just screaming at the top of his non-existent lungs.
And then the fact that the goblins see Rimuru as this all powerful monster was like, "Oh." Like, they're like, "Oh, yeah, your aura is incredibly." He's like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you have an aura." He's like, "What?" And he's like, "Computer, do I have an aura?" They're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, let me see it." And it's like, "Oh, this aura is off the chains."
Yeah, I love Reamer's reaction. He's like, "Oh my god. No wonder they were terrified." What does he say? It's like he's been walking around with his fly open.
Yeah.
No, I'm like,
So,
"Yeah."
and it's like, "Why did no one tell me?" Which, I mean, fair. If you're walking around with your fly open, someone should tell you.
Yeah, be like, "Hey, bro, your fly's open." "Oh, shit, sorry."
I gotta say, it was a jerk move for Rimuru to ask for compensation to help the goblins out.
Yeah. I mean, he says in his inner monologue that, like, he doesn't really want anything, but, like, this is a world of monsters, right? You wouldn't expect, or at least monsters wouldn't expect another monster or person to do something for free.
True.
So I get it.
I was just like, oh, that's sort of a jerk move, Rimuru. Like, you're this all powerful being and you're asking for compensation.
I mean, also to be fair, like, they offered just, like, their servitude,
True.
and he was like, "Yeah, sure, that's fine, whatever."
Turtle, you want to tell us about these closing credits?
Yes, at the end of episode 2, we actually get the true closing theme. So this song is called "Another Colony" by the band True. I think, this might be a first, but let's get into this. So this is another catchy rock song. It's a lot of fun, and the visuals, show Rimuru rolling through Veldora's cave and remembering his past life, and then is reminded of his new friend, Veldora, and the new adventure he's going on. Though I usually skip through the ending credits for this show, it's not because I don't like the song, it's because I'm just too excited to watch the next episode, even if I know what's gonna happen. I was planning on giving this song like a 4 out of 5, but after hearing it again, I just can't do it. After Colony earns a 5 out of 5 stars from me, making this the first show to claim 2 5-star songs from me, I think. Somebody fact check me. I'm just too lazy to do it myself. Episode 3. Mike, what did you think about this one?
The reaction to Rimuru eating the goblin was amazing. They're like, "Oh wait, what? Wait, you can't just eat the injured goblin." Like I was joking earlier, asking if he was going to eat a person to steal their skills, and then he goes and does it.
Yeah, he has a plan most of the time.
And he's like, "I'm just going to see if this works." And it's like, "Holy crap, it worked!"
Very, very funny to see him just, like, consume these goblins.
Like we see him making all those potions back in the first episode, and it's like, okay, well, like he has to like maybe he'll sell them, maybe he'll do like be able to like dish them out to people to for them to use. It's like, nope. He will eat them and that'll be how the potion gets used.
Yep. Yeah, very, very funny. I like, he says it, I think, in this one and also in, like, episode 1, like, "I was just eating all these plants because I was bored." And
I
I think
did
they
think that was
said, like,
hilarious. And it's
he's
like,
in the cave for, like, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, so, like,
yeah.
what else you gonna do?
And like when he was eating all the plants and like crystals in episode one, I'm like, there's no way this doesn't affect the ecosystem of this world, right?
A fair point.
It's like you only have so many like of these crystals and plants and everything. It's like, um eventually that's gonna come back and bite you in the butt, right?
We'll have to see, assuming you continue to watch. Stay tuned to get Mike's answer.
And then Rimuru is just like, I'm gonna eat everyone in this room. And it's like, you get a potion, and you get a potion, and you get a potion. Everyone gets potions.
Woohoo! Free potions.
Rimuru pulling his best Oprah.
He's doing a great job.
For whatever reason, I was not expecting the direwolves to talk. Like I know it's like mainly like internal dialogue, but it's like I don't know, I was just not expecting it.
Yeah. Um, I don't know, fantasy world, monsters, and they kinda explain. I think a little bit later in this episode that they have like this thought communication where, we as the audience will hear the voice actor delivering lines, but I think the way it's supposed to work is just their intentions are just sent telepathically to other monsters and other entities that can, pick them up. So they're not really like talking. Their thoughts are just their thoughts are just sent to other monsters who can pick that up, which is kind of interesting.
It is. It makes it make more sense. It's like because you would not expect a dire wolf to be able to talk, even like a fantasy realm.
Yeah, and like, for us the viewer to just not have any sort of dialogue explaining to us, it'd be kind of weird.
When the direwolf leader saw Rimuru for the first time, I totally expected this thing to just start laughing its ass. It's like, "Oh, you a puny little slime, you're going to defeat me," and then just start howling from laughter.
Yeah, instead he just kind of got mad. He was like, "How dare you, a lowly slime."
My jaw was open the entire time when Rimuru slayed the direwolf leader. Like it's like, okay, like I wasn't expecting a drawn out fight, but then whenever the wolf was just like hanging up in the air from sticky thread, and then Rimmer's like, "Water blade," and just, like, decapitates them, like, "Oh, it be like that."
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible imagery they use for that too. It's a really great shot.
And then we get Rimuru as a direwolf, which was hilarious.
The, the screamathon. He does a lot of yelling in this episode.
He does. That voice actor has to be feeling very sore after this episode.
I would imagine so.
And then the fact that the direwolves pledged loyalty to him, I was very shocked by. I'm like, "Okay, they'll just, like, disappear, and they'll be, like, our villain of the week, and that'll be that." I was not expecting them to, like, stick around.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. We have wolves now as part of the group.
I absolutely loved the reactions of the goblins and the direwolves celebrating about getting names from Rimuru. Like that whole ceremony was fantastic. He's like, I need to give each person a name. Uh, okay, well, your son was this, so we'll call you this, and your brother was this, so we'll call you this." And he's like either adding or removing or changing one letter to each name.
Yes, it's very silly,
It's
and
like,
their joy is just hilarious.
it's like I will. Your name is Brad, and now I'll call this one Brab, and then you'll be Bran, and then you'll be Brand.
I really like the little dance the goblin elder does. He starts swinging his arms. He's like,
Yeah,
"Woohoo!"
that was great.
Very, very funny. Great
Yes.
animation.
It was so nice of the system to warn Rimuru that he was running low on magic heals and that naming things uses magic heals.
Yeah, it's a very interesting way to introduce this concept to the show because we don't get any explanation until like it happens.
And then we get Sexy Goblin.
Of course,
Because,
it's an anime.
it wouldn't be an anime without sexy.
Exactly.
I did not expect the naming of things to play such a huge effect on the looks of the goblins and the direwolves.
Yes.
It's like, okay, the goblins go from like puny and like weak looking to like legit strong and like big and muscular and big chested. Uh
Rigurd is my favorite for that because he's
hell
this
of a,
like decrepit old man who needs a cane to stand up, and then when he busts in the room and he's totally ripped and he's like 10 feet tall now, and he's like, "Yes, my lord." It's
it's
hilarious.
it's a hell of a glow up for the goblins. Meanwhile, the direwolf just grows a horn. It's like, wow, all the power went to the goblins, I see.
Yeah. Um, I will say, without spoiling anything again, Ranga is one of my favorite characters in the show. Ranga is very funny, and he's pretty awesome.
I enjoyed him from what little I saw of him.
You will get more of him as the show goes on. They introduce him early, which is great, but, Ranga's great.
Where did Rimuru get a mustache? Like, he had that on, and he's like, "I'm the Grand Elder now." And they're like, what's that on your face?" He's like, "Oh, you all don't like my mustache." And they just shot it down.
He just, like, spits it off and moves on.
Yeah.
There's a few moments throughout the show where he'll do something silly like that, and nobody reacts, and it's more like for us, the viewer, but, like, the rest of the people in front of him don't know how to respond to whatever he does, and there's some great moments similar to that throughout the show that are just very, very funny.
I really enjoyed Rimuru's 3 roles for the goblins and the direwolves of like, okay, we like humans, we don't wanna do this, we don't wanna do this, like, it's like, man, Rimuru is a good leader. Like, he's all powerful and he could be a jerk, but it's like, "No, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. This will keep everything fair, this will keep everyone liking us, etcetera." I'm like, "Rimuru, you're a good leader."
He's a good person, a good slime, and I wanna drop a little, foreshadowing on you. That 3 rule thing is gonna come back, and I'll leave it at that.
Foreshadowing.
What could that mean? The
Could
only
be
way to
anything.
know is to keep watching, which leads us to our final segment. Mike, after watching these 3 episodes, would you continue to watch Slime?
I absolutely will continue to watch this show.
Woo!
I love the comedy. Um, it was just like I was laughing repeatedly in every episode. Um, the visuals were great. Everything I really enjoyed all of it. Um, I may not be watching it immediately, but that's just because I am in the middle of my first watch of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. But it is going to be my show I watch after I finish that.
Excellent choice. When we were talking about, Sean's assignment and we came up with the rule of 3 idea, one of the shows I wanted to throw at you was Full Metal Alchemist, but we had already talked that you had started Brotherhood, so I wasn't gonna bring that up. Hopefully, we can talk about that show down the road somehow in some form.
Speaking of that, I believe we can use a rule of three on Sean for that show because I don't think he's ever watched it.
Ooh, we may have to invoke the rule of 3 for him at some point.
Indeed.
We'll find out when he's back from assignment, but Brotherhood's a good show. It's a recommend for me.
Yeah, Turtle, this was an excellent suggestion.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining us this week as we had our second Rule of 3 episode, talking about that time I got reincarnated as a slime. We hope you join us next week for episode 76 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will continue our watch of My Hero Academia Season 7 and Kaiju number 8. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews, and if you're listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, and of course, YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.